Hello everyone, welcome back to another IELTS video. Today we'll be learning how to do IELTS writing for task 2. So this is a task 2 question. The question is, people are predicting that robots will work as teachers in the schools in the future. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a scenario. Write at least 250 words. So यो राइटिङमा चाहिँ हामीलाई advantage र disadvantage को कुरा चाहिँ भन्ने हो. So you will have two papers during the exam. One is the question paper and one is the answer paper. In the question paper, you are allowed to draw, write, highlight anything in the question paper. So I recommend you guys to use the question paper as a source of drafting your answers in it. And then you can use that draft for your answer booklets. For example, this will be my draft. So I've listed out the advantage and disadvantage. So the reason why you have this is because, let's say, maybe you don't, in some questions, you have to choose between a good side or a bad side. And if you utilize a draft paper, you can see which one has more reasons than the other. So in some cases, if you write this, it will be beneficial to choose a certain side for specific essays. But for this one, we only have to do advantage and disadvantage. Okay, so I wrote a couple of things. For example, they use up-to-date methods or does not require rest because robots like say rest सुत्नु पर्दैन. And for disadvantages, they might have difficulty in socializing subjects. Expensive पनि हुन सक्छ, and teachers might lose their job. Typically, we write 4 paragraphs. 4वटा हुन्छ. So the first one is introduction, which means intro. Second one is your statement 1, like your advantage or disadvantage. होइन? And then the third paragraph, same thing. You write about another statement, which is your advantage or disadvantage. And lastly, we have a conclusion. Conclusion is to summarize what you've been trying to say in your essay. So here's yes.
Can we write 5 paragraphs?
You are able to write 5 paragraphs, yes, as long as you have enough coherence and that you can organize your paragraphs neatly, then you can.
All right.
Okay. So here is an example. So if you see this, we have an introduction, a statement, which is your answer, right? And then we have another statement, which is statement 2, and finally a conclusion. So you can see 4 paragraphs, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so in the introduction, what you do is that you basically paraphrase the question first. So for example, this one, it says, in the future, having robots in schools can improve teaching vastly. However, there are cons to this stand, as robots may not be the best option for teaching children in schools. Some might agree while others might not. I personally think that it has both its advantages and disadvantages. So this is basically a paraphrased paragraph for the question. Okay, so now we have to give our answers after the introduction. So how to give an answers? My recommendation is you give your answer first, then you give a reason, like you could say because something something, and then you can give an example. You can say maybe for example, blah, 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 like this one. So the reason why you do 3 things is because you can not only have coherence, because you give the reason and example, but to also have enough word count. So let's say the answer is 1 sentence, and the reason is maybe 1 to 2 sentences. And same goes for this. And then if you add all those sentences, it should be around 5 sentences, or 5 to 6, right? And then same for statement 2. You might have like now 10 sentences. And then if you just add the introduction and conclusion, that will be also around maybe 15 plus sentences. And with that, you will have 250 words if you do this correctly. So it says one of the major reasons I believe in having robots teaching schools is that they are able to utilize state of the art teaching methods. This means up to date teaching methods compared to traditional and outdated teaching methods. Robots are updated with the latest information due to the advancement of technology and the use of internet. Because of this, so you realize, if you notice, I used a coherence words because of this. This is very good to use in um, writing exams. Robots can utilize whatever is best to teach students, including specific methods for certain students. This means that not only will they have some of the like latest ways to teach students, but even for certain students who might have a different method of learning, then they will suffice for these situations. For example, robots could easily search up-to-date news and educate the class on the subject of liberal studies, as news about politics requires researching for certain scenarios and utilizing specific teaching practices for students who prefer different teaching methods. So this is how it typically goes. You give the answer, no? This was the explanation, dene, and then you can give one example. And this is already statement paragraph 2. Is it? And then if you notice, I've highlighted some vocabulary here. These are some good vocabularies you can utilize in your exams to gain more marks. So you can try using words like utilize or state of the art, which are very good vocabularies. Okay, so for statement 2, it's the same thing. And my answer is even though, which is a good vocabulary you can use, and it's coherence words. There are pros to commanding robots to teach in schools. I would say disadvantage ko barema चाहिँ भन्दैछु. So one disadvantage is that robots will have difficulty teaching social subjects or interacting effectively during class time. The reason is that robots do not have feelings. यो भनेको चाहिँ robotsमा चाहिँ like मान्छेसित बोल्ने बेलामा चाहिँ feelings हुन्न. Moreover, this is a good coherence word. They cannot process human emotions and feel empathy towards them. For example, in psychology subjects, most of the mediums are taught and explained using theories or concepts about human emotions. Here comes the issue where robots will not understand them. Robots could say they cannot analyze emotions or feel empathy with humans. So that's why this is a disadvantage. Okay. So lastly, we have one conclusion. Basically, what you have to do is that you summarize what you're trying to say. So in this case, from the view that I have portrayed above, this is another good word. It can be seen that utilizing robots to teach in schools can be beneficial. However, they will have difficulty in certain areas where humans would be able to do the same tasks much better. So basically, you kind of almost do the exact same for the introduction. So this is how you typically do writing task 2.
I have a few questions. May I ask them?
Yes, sure.
Can I write my whole essay in the draft and then copy it later in my answer sheet?
No, you will not have enough time if you write your whole essay in the draft because you only have 60 minutes to write.
How many sentences should I write for reason and examples?
Okay. So, in terms of how many sentences you should write, for the answer, you can write about 1 sentence, and then for reasons and example, you can write about 1 to 3 sentences. In total, you will have around 5 to 6 sentences.
Is it compulsory to write examples even though the question has not asked for any examples?
Wait, could you repeat the question?
Is it compulsory to write examples even though the question does not ask for any examples?
It's not compulsory, but you are able to write extra examples because you can get more words in your essay and even more marks.
Mhm. And for the writing format, Can I start my paragraphs with a few spaces in the beginning?
You are able to, but just do the same for the rest. Do not have maybe a space for introduction and then not have this one. So you should have it just same for everything, at least.
All right. How to have coherence?
Okay, to have coherence, first of all, you need to separate your paragraphs. So you can see paragraph 1, paragraph 2, 3, 4. This is already a piece of coherence, but you can also utilize vocabulary. And for example, because or first of all, next, these are coherence words. So if you see in my sample, in the future is one of them. One of the major reason is another one. And there's words like even though, because, for example, and these are coherence words that you can utilize even moreover or and. Kasi सब पे और say coherence को marks like say body banasa. So you should use these words to get more marks.
What do I do if I cannot think of any examples for my reason?
Okay. Sometimes you might come across with a question and that you've maybe never thought about or haven't even done what they said. So in this case, you guys can actually lie during the exams. You can make up your answers, but as long as they make sense, you are free to write anything you want as long as it makes sense. So you can come up with some examples in your head, or maybe if you've seen it before but you've never done it, you can also write that as well. As long as it makes sense in the end, you are free to write your answers. So this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching how to do task 2 of IELTS writing. Good luck with your exams and all the best to you guys.